You know why you shouldn't be offended when someone says you have white privilege? Because it doesn't necessarily mean you're racist. There's all kinds of privilege in the world, and having it doesn't make you a bad person. Denying that it exists can, though. Take the fact that I live in the U.S. For all its flaws, U.S. citizens do have an unprecedented amount of personal freedom. That's a privilege that someone living under a dictatorship or a totalitarian regime does not have. I readily acknowledge this and would never minimize the suffering of another person by refusing to admit that I carry privilege in this area. Even as a black person living in the United States, I acknowledge that colorism is a very real thing. A darker-skinned black person will have a very different lived experience than I do. That's a privilege that I carry. And of course, there's all kinds of privilege that has nothing to do with race or ethnicity. Pretty privilege, straight privilege, wealth privilege. There's clear factual data around these advantages, and pretending that they don't exist just makes us look like the ostrich with its head stuck in the sand. Having white privilege doesn't mean that you haven't had your share of hardships in life. It just means that your skin color isn't one of the
Although it may be shocking, a lot of racists genuinely believe they are good people, and here are the top 5 ways they try to convince themselves it's true. Number 1, when they're called out, instead of taking accountability for their actions, they simply blame the person who accused them. They didn't do anything wrong. In fact, the other people are being sensitive and they are a good person, so therefore they can't possibly say anything racist. Number 2, by leaning heavily into cognitive dissonance. You don't know, cognitive dissonance is when you have 2 conflicting beliefs and that creates discomfort in someone. So they have to either change one of their 2 beliefs so that they can coexist without the person feeling overwhelmed. So instead of being like, oh, I am racist, I should stop being racist, they're like, oh, actually, I am a good person and what I said wasn't racist, so that they can balance it out. Number 3, by leaning on their racist friends for validation. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Number 4, by blaming woke culture as a whole for the reason that they have been called out, because they couldn't possibly do anything wrong. It must be a societal problem. And number 5, by playing into the reverse racism myth. Not only am I not racist, but actually you are being racist to me as a white person, because that is the real problem in society.
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it.
Yes, it does.
This is a message for all of my fellow Southern white women. Baby, there aren't any liberal or leftist women planning to drive to the South to attack you.
Let them know.
The only people wishing they could square up with Southern conservative white women are those of us stuck here living with you. But it's not because you're conservative. It's not even because you voted for Donald Trump. It's not about politics at all. It's just because you are the fucking worst. Maybe it's because you won't stop trying to fight people in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot in your Tweety Bird pajamas because you're convinced that someone made eyes again at your fugly fucking absentee alcoholic of a husband. Maybe it's because you are consistently an asshole to the 16-year-old working at the local coffee shop because your drink didn't taste enough like the mocha frappuccino that you got at Starbucks the last time you went to the big city. Maybe it's because you insist on taking up 4 parking spots at the local Walmart with your pavement princess of a pickup truck that has never seen a dirt road in its life. Newsflash, darling, you don't need cowboy boots. You work part-time at the local nursing home. Maybe it's because you keep leaving passive-aggressive notes in everyone's mailboxes about how much you hate their multicolored Christmas lights after we've all had to put up with the ugly fucking oversized Trump flag you've had in your front yard for the last 8 years. Maybe it's because you decorate your house with "In this house we pray" and "Live, laugh, love" signs while also being the town gossip. Maybe it's because you've taught all of your little shithead kids to be bullies to everyone else's children at school. Maybe it's because you're constantly up your son's teacher's ass about giving him more extra credit while also being the one bitching about how much teachers make on Facebook. Maybe it's because you park in other people's driveways or on other people's lawns every day at school pickup because God forbid little Timmy have to walk more than 50 feet to get into your car. No one wants to fight you because you are a conservative, Rebecca. They want to fight you because you are a bitch.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, Africans. I hope you're faring well. Well, I have a question to ask you. When somebody says that you have a privilege to something, does it mean that it is a bad thing? Does it mean that they are insulting you by saying that you have an advantage to something? Let's say, for instance, if a Black American and an African comes back to Africa, and the African meets these people, and they start speaking language and they are happy, and the Black American tells the African, you are privileged in that you can speak this language. Does this make the African a bad person? Or is it the truth in itself? I believe it is the truth in itself. And so, when black people as well are telling white people that they have the white privilege, sometimes some of these white people get offended and they feel like they are being called racist by us. But no, we are just saying that they have the white privilege, and that is an advantage that adds up. Perhaps what makes them angry is an inherent desire and is an inherent disposition whereby you find that being that they are white privileged, some people have been oppressed to achieve the white privilege, and in that way they feel offended. That is my perspective, and I'm going to share with you more perspectives. However, let's listen to what Africans have to say about this. I shall get back with a deeper critical analysis. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Riddle me this. Why is it considered racist when white people show any kind of pride of their heritage? I mean, I don't understand. Why can't they be proud of what they have created and what they have done in history? I mean, why can't Hispanics be proud? Why can't Indians be proud? Why can't anybody be proud of their heritage but black people? I mean, for a group of people who have supposedly gave humanity to the world, you sure have nothing to show for it anymore. And this is a sad truth. Instead, we hold on to victimization and victimhood and a poverty mindset that cripples our generations. I've said over and over again, I don't identify with a color. I don't identify with a race. I'm an American and a proud one. And I love being black. I love what I contribute to society and to my family and friends. Because unlike some, I actually take pride in my family's heritage. And I feel if you have not produced anything to humanity, you cannot complain about anything. Everybody's contributing to this pot, but you. And I'm not talking about those good black folks who own businesses and manage corporations and are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and contributing to society. You're doing a great job. Continue working hard and building wealth for your family. But to the other group, you know, offended by everything but ashamed by nothing, you're doing a disservice to your race. And I feel that if people like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King was out right now, still alive, talking the stuff that they were talking, I feel there'll be a segment of the community that would try to off them. They would try to unalive them because they do not want to be controlled and they do not want to change their mindset. That segment has hijacked the Black Power struggle and co-opted it with nothing but hate, with a little help from white liberals. And their goal is destruction. Destruction of everything. So I welcome your hate. Continue. But you know what I'm saying is right. And you know what I'm saying is factual. And everybody else knows it. And let me take the time to anger that segment of the community even more. On this Memorial Day, I'd like to honor those men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice to keep our country free and to protect our constitutional republic.
So I was called the N-word today. You know, I'm 44 years old, and I was called the N-word for the first time earlier this year. And I was just called it again, just for driving. Yeah, I live in a red state, and I know things are bad, but, and I'm not really even upset about being called the word. I'm upset that this is the world that we're living in. I'm upset that this is a world that I brought my daughter into. This is what my daughter is going to have to deal with. All I was doing was driving. I was trying to exit from a parking lot. It was a parking lot. I was just trying to exit from a parking lot. And this guy just came up behind me. And he just started blaring his horn. And he just screamed it out the window. Make America great again, right? This is real great. This is real great.
So I'm not really sure where the fuck it came from, but apparently there seems to be this new narrative that like criticizing a white man about being hateful or about criticizing white people in general about their history or about their behavior is somehow seen as being racist towards white people. That's not being racist towards white people. Talking about the things that white people do and saying that they're bad things and saying that white people are bad people for doing the things that they do is not being racist towards them. If you're just out here talking about, oh, I just hate white people because they're white, that's racism towards white people. Just hating them purely just because they're white, yes, that's racism towards white people. Hating white people because of the oppression that your ancestors went through, that's not racism. Hating white people that refuse to admit and acknowledge the systematic oppression that you go through every day on a daily basis, your entire life, that's not racism. Hating the white people that try to create this false narrative of them being oppressed while simultaneously ignoring the oppression that you're going through is not racism. It's not racism because you don't hate them for who they are. You hate them for what they're doing. That's why it's not racism. Anybody who sits here and tries to tell you that it is on the side of white supremacy. And always keep in mind, you don't have to be white to be on the side of white supremacy.
You know, the irony is that people are starting to realize that they're being triangulated by racists. The racists are realize that they're being pent against each other. And they're having a real conversation. And they're pausing. Like they're pausing for a moment and realizing, like, wait a minute. We're really being pent against each other. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's get out of our feelings for a quick moment without screaming and, you know, there was a rally, you had a rally, I remember. Yeah, but the rally was in Florida. Oh yeah, but you're in California. You guys voted. You guys did vote blue. Oh, but you are unable to vote. Oh wow. Why is it that you guys didn't get work visas and you guys been working for this organization for this many years? Why are they not going to the inner cities and actually getting the ones who possibly why are they driving the actual fields and getting why are they going to the churches and why are they going to the schools and getting the Yeah, you did say that you're Mexican and you're El Salvadorian and you're Guatemalan and you're Venezuelan and you're Puerto Rican. You're not all the same because if you're Jamaican, you're Haitian, you're Nigerian, you're not all this. Conversations really starting to be had. Conversations are really starting to be had.
Can we talk about how non-black people feel more comfortable bothering and inconveniencing black people versus their white peers? I just had 2 instances where this happened to me, but when I really think about it, it happens all the time. So last week, I got to this bar early because I was saving a table for me and my friends for trivia. And when I was sitting there, a guy who I'm assuming is Hispanic or Latinx came up to me and asked if he can take one of the chairs. And I said, I'm saving it for, our group. Maybe you should ask them. It's a table of all white people. They look like they have an extra chair. And this guy flat out told me, I don't want to bother them. And I'm like, well, you want to bother me? And face turned bright red. Out of embarrassment, I think that's when he went over there and asked him, and they gave him the extra seat. But isn't that very bizarre? Another time this happened, my sister and I went to this restaurant and sat at the bar. And most of the seats were filled. It was kind of busy. But a bartender came up to us, right, like maybe 5 minutes after we sat down. It kind of took her a while and said, I'll be with you in one moment. Like, I'm slammed. I have this to do, this to do, this to do. This went wrong. And it was crazy because maybe a few minutes after there was two different couples, one to the left of us and one to the right of us at the bar that sat down. And she greeted them right away. And also, she did not labor them with everything she had going on. She greeted them, took their order, and that was it. And if she was busy and like super stressed out, she put on this professional face and got it together. So the fact that she's able to do that for the white patrons at the bar, but wanted to labor me and my sister with like all this negativity and, basically set the standard that we were going to get bad service because she was slammed is an issue. And I was trying to think, like, is this always malicious? Because whether it be asking for directions, asking for a chair, asking for a tampon, whatever, like, is this always malicious? And for me, I'm like, okay, Black people are very communal. We're community driven. Maybe it makes us easier to approach. But I think a lot of the times it is malicious and people feel like they are entitled to bother us. And
white people are inherently racist due to, quote, all westernized countries being Eurocentric. No. What you're basically saying is that white people are inherently racist because their European culture is inherently racist. And that can't be true either because culture is a living entity. It's constantly changing. It's evolving. Many things influence culture. It's a social construct, just like race is a social construct. These are not things that are inherently passed down to you through any biological process whatsoever. These are things that we as human beings construct based off of our social dynamics. And to your second point, anti-Blackness and racism is a secondary result of Eurocentric societies would also be wrong because Eurocentric societies are not innately racist. Their societies are not inherently racist. Their societies didn't start off as racist societies. Their societies created racism. And I would argue that anti-indigeneity is the result of racism because indigenous is a global term. So everybody is indigenous to somewhere. The whole goal of white supremacy and racism was to conquer as much of the world as they could. And they couldn't do that unless they destroyed the indigenous people of each landmass that they wanted to take over. Anti-nativeness, anti-Blackness, anti-Asian, anti-Pacific Islander sentiments, all of these are byproducts of anti-indigeneity. You destroy the people of the land, you remove them from their land, you disenfranchise them from their lands, you separate them by creating borders, you cause infighting between the groups, and you're able to take land and resources much easier. Colonization has always been anti-indigenous. And as a result of that, we were all conditioned to have anti-Blackness, anti-nativeness, anti-Asian, anti-Pacific Islander hate. And every single one of us needs to deconstruct and decolonize.
So, after watching these videos, here's my deep critical analysis. You see, it is no advantage. It is a huge disadvantage to the Black person. And it is an advantage to the white person who is experiencing the privilege. For instance, in Africa, Black people undermine, disrespect, and does not think that we are as equals as we are Black people. But when a white man shows him or herself is when you can see this. I myself I have felt some kind of colorism against me. I've felt some kind of racism against me. Yes, we have Africans who are also fair-skinned. They are treated better than Africans who are not fair-skinned. I'm telling you this, I have experienced it one-on-one. I once experienced racism from my very own people. I was asking for a hotel, and also white people are asking for a hotel. The way I was treated was totally different from how the white people were treated. Such a long story, I'm not willing to go deep into it, but we disrespect ourselves and we respect the white color. Yes, white privilege does exist, and it is not a good thing to so many of us black people. White privilege itself, when it's not having any implication on any other person, it's okay, you stay white, you enjoy the privileges. But when it undermines other people, that is when it becomes a problem, when it becomes a situation whereby you want to step on the heads of other people. That is when it becomes a problem, because white privilege is the same narrative that was taught in the colonialism periods. White privilege is the same narrative that was being told during the times of slavery. We cannot undermine, it's not an overstatement to say that white privilege has been a problem to so many black people and to so many countries that were colonized, right? In India, even though they had the white privilege, even though they had the caste system, white privilege added more into the caste system, where now the fair skin you had, the fairer the skin you had, the more privileged you became, the higher you were uplifted in the social stratification of the Indian caste system. Yes, white privilege added more into it. And so I myself believe that colonialism used white privilege as a tool. They made us black people against one another, saying, look at that black person, you are as black as the devil is black, and angels are white. So you people are inferior beings. That is what we are told. That is what our folklore tells us. We were undermined. And it's so funny that our parents also adopted this narrative. It's so funny that we are always chasing whiteness. Even black people, our ladies, most of them, they bleach. Also some men, they bleach, they want to become white like the white man. All this is because people are chasing white privilege and their minds has been brainwashed. According to me, I think white privilege is a problem that should be dealt with one-on-one. That is what I think, and that is my perspective. If you have any other perspective, kindly share it on the comment section. We'll continue the discussion further. Thanks for watching. This is EFK Original Documentary. Support me on Patreon if you may. Thank you a lot.